So, the Acolyte series is by far the worst performing Lucasfilm project in many years, and even worse than the Willow series that got cancelled, by the way, by Lucasfilm, by Kathleen Kennedy, and the Disney heads. Right now, the Acolyte Season 1 is bouncing back and forth between 31 to 32% on the audience side of things on Rotten Tomatoes, and we already know that going into Episode 3 next Wednesday is really going to seal the deal in a terrible way that's going to drive away fans in the masses, alright? This is going to be the final true nail in the coffin for Star Wars, and we'll talk more about that later. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, we already know that Kathleen Kennedy, leslye, headland, Amandla Stenberg, who by the way is just as insufferable as Rachel Zegler now, has been endlessly defending the Acolyte series like there's no tomorrow. I mean, they are saying all these different lies about the show, about, of course, the male side of the fandom, about everything related to their inspiration of the series. I mean, they just keep going on and on about the series. That's only making things worse, while focusing on Kathleen Kennedy yet again, and it's not resolving anything. In fact, if anything, it's making the series sink even further. However, she went on to heavily defend the Acolyte once more about the ratings disaster and what's going on with the overall audience side of things. Now, look, we already know that the critics are going to rave about this thing. You know, actual journalists and stuff like that. We've seen this before, by the way, with The Last Jedi, where critics absolutely loved it. They loved every aspect of the movie, and that's exactly why, you know, you're getting the same exact kind of scenario here with The Acolyte. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes Last Jedi, 91% on the critics score, 41% on the audience score. But focusing more on Kathleen, with The Acolyte Episode 1 and 2 now officially on Disney+, and already ratings are beginning to fall terribly for the series. One major development now involves more to do with Kathleen Kennedy and what she had to deliver after the ratings of The Acolyte hit an all-time low for all of Lucasfilm's projects so far. Even worse than the Willow series. Now, Kennedy went on to deliver the following. In my experience as a producer, and one who has been in this industry for so long, you can't always trust the ratings early on. This is never a concrete telling of how your project is going to perform. Whether it's a movie or a series, in our case with The Acolyte, I think the only upset fans we are dealing with are those that have a growing issue with those attached to the LGBTQ community. I mean, it's just outright irresponsible to act such a way, and it's also very offensive to members of that community that we proudly represent in this series. So all we are dealing with right now, and it's something I keep telling Leslye to keep in mind, that you are always going to have loud, entitled fans that remain opposed to stories adapting to a modern view. That's what Star Wars is all about anyway, adapting to how we see the world today, and it's what we did with The Acolyte. As far as ratings go, I just think they aren't accurate just yet. We are dealing with a silent majority that seemingly is hesitant to speak up with their opinion in fear of being an outcast, and that is a growing problem for customers of many studios developing projects for film and television in this day and age. The real issue at large that we are dealing with here for The Acolyte is that men are obviously toxic towards women, and they don't get a fair treatment in this industry, especially not in Star Wars. It's in my best interest to keep on doing what we are doing and to try different things that represents all of these amazing communities. It's why I knew going in Leslye was right for this job, because she was going to do the best job that she could at making that possible on screen. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that the toxic side of this community is obviously scared of, and that's also another growing issue for many in this industry that needs to be solved as we search for a remedy revolving around that. The Acolyte, I think, is our best feature yet since The Last Jedi. It's a bold project, and something that takes chances, and is the first series to adapt our modern view of women, and if the toxic side of this community as an issue with that by our last episode. I guess we are just going to have to see what we can do with other projects to test the waters further. I never take ratings early on as a deal breaker. We have 6 episodes to go, and representation will be done in a very artistic way in this series, thanks to Leslye and the wonderful acting by Amandla, who plays a wonderful hero and villain. Now guys, let me just, move on from that before I continue. Now, what's interesting about this is that Kathleen Kennedy is obviously coping here. About how you can't trust the ratings early on. Well, usually with a series, when one episode bombs after the other, and after what has been going on with episodes 3 and 4 based on the early screenings, which, by the way, are just god-awful. If you thought episodes 1 and 2 were bad, just prepare yourselves for episode 3 and episode 4, alright? And it's only going to tumble further from there for 5, 6, 7, 8. And look, when you reach episode 4, that's half the series. The fact that the next 2 episodes after the second one, I should say, are gonna fail is really a big deal. That's half the show. When you have half the series that's just a complete disaster, there is no resolving it. So, again, this is endlessly a problem by Lucasfilm. They always fall into a vicious cycle, and this is obviously going to have a negative impact on their next Star Wars show. Yes, we have another one, guys, coming out this holiday season. Skeleton Crew. And it is going to be something that's going to be a mixture between Star Wars and the Goonies. It sounds absolutely ridiculous to me, but moving on. She goes on to conclude, the Acolyte is our first project, I think, where it really made us realize, looking at the ratings, that Toxic Men is still a growing problem on the customer spectrum for film and television, and how it creates this challenge, for the studios to properly create something that can be successful while representing the LGBTQ community and other communities as best as we can, and we hope to succeed. So, look, not only is the writing subpar, the direction of the story is absolutely god-awful. The sets in some areas look so cheaply made. Even the costumes, like the wardrobe, looks like it comes out of something that you would buy on, some kind of costume shop to use as a cosplay. It just looks absolutely terrible. It's very cheap looking, and for the budget that went into this thing, alright, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but the budget that went into this thing, alright, are you prepared? It was actually estimated to be around $180 million for all 8 episodes. Alright, that's a lot of money for this series that obviously mostly was filmed in studio using the stagecraft technology, which, by the way, is just standing on a stage with a big screen around you that creates a virtual environment. Anyway, moving on from that, we know that Kathleen Kennedy's coping here about the ratings. She knows, and she damn well knows, what's looming for episode 3. So, what she's saying now is a complete lie about how the ratings early on are nothing to be worried about. She's absolutely worried about it. She's just saying whatever she has to say to keep everyone, on the brink of, watching this thing, to actually give them a chance to go ahead and check it out. Now, look, once episode 3 drops, I think it's going to be the type of backlash that we have never seen before in Star Wars. If you thought The Last Jedi was huge back in December of 2017, I think that come next Wednesday, alright, mark your calendars, June 12th is going to be a historic moment for Star Wars, and not in a good way. But overall, guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.